Hi, I'm Michael Scruggs, and I'm going to continue today with the blog on the elements. Today's topic will be on Mars and Venus, or the sexual attraction. The witness of this was mankind for over thousands of years, placing the positions of Mars and Venus and their effects on human nature and human desire. Let us take the planet Mars, for example. The theory goes, for a man, Mars shows how he projects himself forcefully, assertively, and sexually. It dictates how he gives off his power in a sexual relationship and how he expresses his masculinity in the areas of leadership and initiative. Thus, it is connected with a man's male ego. Mars sign and aspect are often key to what kind of man a woman finds physically attractive. In a woman's chart, Mars is also a strong male image in her psyche. It is closely associated with romantically exciting and images that turns on her own energy and helps her to express herself. Venus has to do with female ego. A woman needs to experience the qualities of her Venus sign in order to feel feminine. It also shows how a woman receives and gives off her love, and Venus is usually more of a sexual indicator for women than it is for men. It dictates how a woman approaches any relationship that might eventually lead to sex, as well as intimate human social relationships. For a man, Venus is associated with romance, beauty, and with images that are especially lovely and attractive to him. It describes the type of woman that erotically attracts a man, what looks good to him aesthetically and turns on his feelings. The emphasis in Venus is turning on the more erotically charged and sensual romantic feelings. The moon in a man's chart, however, represents the type of woman that can attract a man on various other companionship levels and can turn on his feelings in other ways, such as need for security, support, nurturing, and overall responsiveness. But, however, we're talking about Venus here. So Venus is also related to a man's ideal about love, sex, and relationship. It is not usually specifically sexual. However, Mars is much more of a symbol of sexual energy in men. In women, though Venus and Mars energy are both important components of the sexual nature, they combine and are usually more inseparable than is the case of most men. So evidently in men and women's nativity chart, the element that Venus is in and Mars is in really dictates the affairs of their life, especially the turn-ons and the turn-offs of what is attractive to them and what is not. So you can see that it's not only men are from Mars and women are from Venus. Both of these planets play a big role in the bedroom and definitely have their cause and their effect in sexual attraction and turn-ons and turn-offs and feelings. So let's put the elements to these theories and see how it pans out. Venus in fire signs shows affection, appreciation, and expressed energetically, directly, and grandly. Feels love and closeness with one another through sharing vigorous activities and mutual aspirations and enthusiasms. Venus in the earth signs, affection and appreciation are expressed tangibly, dependable, and physically. Feels love and closeness with one another through commitment and building a life together, as well as through the sensual pleasure and sharing of responsibilities. Venus in air sign means affection, appreciation are expressed through intense intellectual communication, and the sense of companionship feels love and closeness to another through verbal sharing and meeting of the minds. Mutually pleasant socializing as well. Venus in water signs mean affection and appreciation or expression emotionally and sympathetically, feels love and closeness with another through interchange of sensitivity and feelings on a subtle level, leading to a feeling of deep merging. Mars in the elements is quite different, you see. So Mars in the fire signs means to assert oneself through physical attraction, initiative, and outgoing radiation of energy. Physical energy stimulated by constant movement, confident enthusiasm, and dynamic action. So Mars in Aries is this. Mars in an earth sign asserts itself through concrete achievement requiring patience, persistence, and physical energy stimulated by hard work, self-discipline, challenge, and duty. Mars through the air signs asserts itself through the expression of ideas, active communication, and energetic imagination. Physical energy stimulated by mental changes, social activism, relationship, and new ideas. Now, Mars in water signs. Self through emotionally subtle persistence and appealing to deeper feelings and needs of others. Physical energy is stimulated by deep yearnings and feelings needed by another, substance, intuitions, and intensity of emotional experience, if you got that. We'll break it down in a few minutes with examples, so this won't be so overwhelming. So these theories, witnessed over the centuries of placing these two planets of sexual nature, of human desire, let us look at a few examples. All right, let's use the ladies first. Let us take an example of a lady's chart and place her Mars in the first sign of Aries. Using these astrological theories, then the planet Mars is in a fire element. So ladies, if you have Mars in Aries in your natal chart, you need for a man to assert himself through direct physical action, initiative, outgoing radiation of energy. Maybe you like a man that's into sports. Maybe you like a man who leads through example, an executive, an attorney that's arguing in a court system. You understand the fight that he goes through and the torment and the preparation. If you're a wife to one of these individuals, okay, so let's say this lady's Venus in Pisces, which is a water sign. So how she needs to assert herself and what makes her feel confident in her affection and her sexuality is she wants him to be affectionate and appreciative, which are expressed emotionally and sympathetically. Feelings of love and closeness with another through interchange of sensitivity and feelings on a subtle level, leading to feelings of deep merging. So you may want an athlete or an executive to be sensitive poet as well. This might be a turn-on factor for you. And now let's switch gears for a moment and talk about the effects of the elements and how they have their effects on the planets, especially Mars and Venus, since we're doing a blog on Mars and Venus. I have in previous blogs tried to tie light intensity to the dignity of the planets and how the planet's light quality through the zodiac is shown to the view of those on Earth. The zodiac, however, in ancient philosophy, especially prevalent in the Hellenistic era of human history, used to be tied to religion. The Hellenistic philosophy bounced off of the system of religion and philosophy of the ancient Persian society that got their information from the tribes that conquered it in biblical times related to the stories portrayed in the Bible. It has only been 1600 or so years that the books on astrology have been separated by wars, burnings, untimely deaths of men of knowledge by the bludgeoning of people during the wars of the tribes of antiquity. This was done to separate religion from the word planet because planet worship in the times of antiquity that the prophets expose was prevalent even on the leadership and royal lines of people. What was known back then that is not really paid attention to today is that the planets are hosts of heaven. What was not known to the tribes of antiquity was the movement and the motion of the planets. We have superior planets and inferior planets, and each type of planet has their particular motion showing how much light that they emit in the sky. The light that is emitted from these planets fall to the earth and influence the flora and fauna as well as the animals of the earth, including humans. How else can we interpret this? The sun gives us light for plant material and crops that we as humans eat. The moon has a lot to do with the flow of the water on Earth, as I've mentioned, that pertains to the uptake of mineral and water on the soil level and thus available to the plants. Curious how Scripture today does not mention the word planets, like the word did not exist in the vocabulary of the bishops and dioceses. This is most probably true because of the bloody wars fought over religion in the name of the gods. Much knowledge was lost, including the categorization of elements in the sky known as fire, air, water, and earth. How do the elements that are made of the earth continue into the atmosphere to influence the stars and the planets around the earth? In fact, what about the introduction of the periodic elements of science by a meteorite, which is not yet categorized in the periodic chart of science? Could introduce a new element that we don't know anything about. The whole of religion, the Muslims today, kneel and bow and pray toward Mecca several times a day. At the center of this religion is a meteorite with elements not characterized by man in the periodic charts in the science of men. Men cannot get anywhere around it without starting a religious and holy war. The four elements of astrological tradition refer to the vital forces or energies that make up the entire creation that is commonly perceived by human beings. The four elements in a birth chart reveal the ability to participate in certain realms of being and to tune into specific fields of life experience. These elements that extend into the sky have nothing to do with the elements of the periodic table. In fact, they transcend them completely. The astrological birth chart is drawn for the moment of the first breath, the instant that we immediately establish our lifelong attunement with the cosmic energy sources. The birth chart therefore reveals your energy pattern or cosmic attunement to the four elements. In other words, the chart symbolizes the patterns of various vibratory manifestations that compromise the individual's expression in this plane of creation. So the theory behind the elements that are part of the sky dictate the availability of energy flow of the planets and categorize them and are categorized by the charts of dignity that was done and rescued by historians and somehow were preserved and saved from all the religious opposition from the centuries past. This is the reasoning and the meaning of the word occult. These teachings that were called the mysteries were taken underground at the risk of heresy and death. However, are we as a world society today ready to again tie the realization that we know to exist in the sky and theories of religion today to astrology? We know that the planets are not gods. I do not think the planet worship will ever exist because of the bloody wars fought over it for centuries. We today in the world are out of the bloody phase of religion and are now into the proof phase again to prove that religion is truth. So let us theorize of the planets and let us note the one difference, to know who set them in motion. So what are the elements in astrology? These proofs that were part of religion in the past have not survived so that we can have the truths today. However, the practice and the use of them is surely used. If you look at the blogs on astrology on YouTube alone, you could see it in play. The elements that extend into the sky follow what the elements are on the earth. How can they not be one with the earth, as air is classified in science as a conglomerate of gases that enable us to breathe? Air is what we breathe to give us life with gas exchange. The earth is made of things that we chew for nourishment. I do not even have to mention what water means to us. Fire is unique in that it allows humankind to fabricate, build, and to cook, and to help us stay warm when the earth is the furthest from the sun. I will state the theory of ether, though, and the sky, as ether is part light and part gas of these gases that extend into the sky. And antiquity knew, because they had records then, that the sky, or the divisions of it called the zodiac, had varieties of this ether slash gas slash light that astrology calls the elements. I wanted to say so long for now, and thank you for listening. For those that are interested, please hit the subscribe button below and check out the links for the book, Christian Cosmogony, The Split Between the Church and Astrology.